Good evening, campers, it's me, Kieran. Today we are going to talk about Study for Obedience by Sarah Bernstein. Oh, but wait, what is this interaction that I screenshot between me and Eric Carl Anderson? Is he saying that I'm allowed to call him a booker bozo? I can't really remember the screenshot. It's on my computer. I don't remember what it is, but I'm going to call him a booker bozo. If you Google the title of this book, you're going to get one of two things. You're either going to get this book. That's quite a boring one, isn't it? Really, you're interested in the second one, and that is the Milgram experiment. The Milgram experiment was a psychological test where people sat down and in front of them was a button. With each press, they would be delivering an electric shock to someone on the other side of the room. However, they were advised that at some point that electric shock would be lethal to the other person. In the room with them was an authority figure who advised them to keep pressing the button. Even though the participant knew after a certain level it would be fatal to the person on the other side, because there was an authority figure in the room advising them that they should continue with the test, people went against their moral and personal conscience. Do I know if Bernstein took this title because of that? I'm not entirely sure. However, it does explore the legacies of authorities within societies. The premise of Bernstein's book is that our unnamed protagonist has gone to somewhere northern to look after her brother. She does not speak the language of this new area, and all of the townsfolk here seem to be disposed to not like this woman. Upon doing all the housekeeper chores for her brother, things are to change now that he has to leave on a business trip. Finding herself in the mundane pastoral, decides to venture out, and here people scream as they look at her. Mothers cover their children's gaze, and she can't enter buildings because the automatic door doesn't recognize her. Bernstein, through the implementation of minimalistic and passive prose, does nothing to lift the fog, the miasma of mystery that clings to every sentence. You'd be forgiven to think that this was set in the 17th century almost, but mutterings of Wi-Fi, social media and work Zoom calls does everything to alienate you within this town. And that is really what this book is all about. Alienation. Because our unnamed protagonist is Jewish. Knowing this, we could pinpoint our conversation on anti-Semitism, but I think what makes Bernstein's novel so provocative is in her refusal to categorize it as anti-Semitism. Therefore, rather than talking about anti-Semitism, I'm going to talk more broadly about prejudice. Study for Obedience, and I have to stress this, is inherently passive. A lot of criticism that I've seen other people mention about this book is that nothing really happened. And I think people want their prejudice to be active. They want, say, a racial slur. They want an action to occur, to where they can pinpoint it exactly. But a lot of the prejudice that people face is passive. It's what people aren't saying. It's the atmosphere of the room that you walk in. The fact that Bernstein has decided to write about her character who cannot speak the language, even to the best of her abilities to learn it, cannot speak to the people who seem to hate her, just makes this book feel uncomfortable. I hope I don't have to tell you of the atrocities that happened in World War II, but this displaced group of people, now that the war was over, had to go back home. They had to find their place in a society, in a country, with a people who did not want them there, even though that society, that country and those people are theirs. To link this back to the Milgram experiment, it's all about obedience to authority, the history of that country, the authority within that country during that period. Although the narrator and the townsfolk were not alive during that time, it is the legacy of that authority. It's the submitting to those ideas that perpetuates this prejudice. For me, Study for Obedience is wholly impressive, and for that I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.